like to call the Henry Ford College Regular Board of Trustees meeting to order, please. Roll call vote. Roll call.
Mary Lane is here, Roxanne McDonald.
Here.
Michael Mead.
Here.
Adel Mozeb.
Here.
Mary Petchnikoff.
Here.
James Thorpe.
Here.
Chair Hussein Berry.
Here. I'd like to make a comment before going on to the next item. Last week, we met for an organizational meeting, and I do have the honor of chairing this great group of people here today and for the rest of the year. I also want to introduce our officers. Our Vice President will be James Thorpe. Serving as Secretary is Mary Lane, and serving as Treasurer will be Roxanne McDonald. These are positions that were approved last Monday night. We'll go to the next item, please.
Approval of minutes of the following Henry Ford College Board of Trustee meetings. Regular meeting, December 16th, 2019.
So,
Recommended action, make any necessary corrections and move to approve these minutes.
Before we go into this, we have a motion and support. Before we get into the discussion, I know Trustee Lane, Trustee McDonald had some corrections, and I brought them to Kathy's attention. So the only thing here, just for my colleagues, is on page 6, under C, there's going to be, I think it's the third or fourth sentence going to be taken out of that paragraph. If you have any other questions, we can go over it. But right now, we're under discussion or other corrections.
The other one is on page 7.
Page 7.
So it says, the entire sentence reads, Trustee Mozeb had a good idea in developing a way to keep track of requests for information from trustees, as it's done at the district. I proposed adding. And then, here's what I wanted to change. As sometimes information is provided and sometimes it is not. President Berry, are you willing to?
That is getting, yeah, that is.
Is that going to
deleted
be
from the-
struck also?
Yes.
Okay, thank
That is
you.
a sentence I was referring to.
Okay. I thought you
yeah,
were talking
I
about
want
the
to know
earlier.
exactly which sentence is going to be struck.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can read it.
Yeah.
It says, he, referring to Trustee Barry, added that Trustee Mozeb had a good
Okay,
idea
so
in
that's
developing.
the sentence you're looking to strike?
Yeah, all the
Okay.
way over to, yeah, the end of that sentence.
Okay, I didn't understand. It's that entire sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're going to vote on something, I want to know what I'm voting on.
That might be a good thing, right?
I would like everybody
Is
to
there any
think
other
that way.
discussion or corrections? We do have a motion support. Are there any objections to the motion? Hearing none, please attach a unanimous roll call vote. Next item, please.
Recognition and acknowledgements.
Thank you, President Cavaluna, Chair Barry, and members of the board. My name is Yasmin Barry, and I am currently in a dual enrollment position, a senior attending the Henry Ford Early College High School and a freshman attending the Henry Ford College campus that is also a part of the Henry Ford Honors Program. I began taking classes at Henry Ford College in fall of 2017, have completed 55 credit hours, and have a cumulative 4.0 GPA. After the winter 2021 semester, I hope to transfer to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and major in biological anthropology and neuroscience. On campus, I am currently president of the Alpha Xi Mu chapter of the Phi Theta Kappa Honors Organization, a freelance journalist for the Mirror News, a student representative on the Mirror News Advisory Board, and a member of the National Society of Leadership and Success Club. Now, I am pleased to read this month's HFC Board acknowledgements. Congratulations to the following honors program students for being selected as winners of the Land Student Scholars Competition and who will be presenting at this year's Land Conference. Emmanuel Orozco Castellanos, Reassessing Nuremberg's Legacy, The Trails of the Holocaust. Myself, Yasmin Berry, The History of Healthcare in Detroit. Malak Jalad's Screen Time, It's Complicated. Congratulations to Beth Preston, Financial Aid Associate. Ms. Preston has been elected as Secretary for the Michigan Student Financial Aid Association Executive Board for 2020 to 2021. Congratulations to the HFC wrestling team who tied for 13th in the national rankings by Intermat, the official ranking service for NCAA, NJCAA, and high school wrestling. This is the first time the team has been ranked in the 3-year history of the varsity program. Congratulations also go to Dante Rivera Garcia, who leads in the 125-pound weight class national ranking. Congratulations to Sandra Wilkins and Nina Denny for being selected as Students of the Month for December. As the president and secretary of the Student Veterans Association, both work as a team to engage the student veterans on campus as well as in the community. They successfully coordinated a luncheon to honor servicemen and women on Veterans Day and a service project for the deployed Navy troops who are on the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier to add to their cheer during the holiday season. The Student of the Month program is facilitated through the Office of Student Activities and boosts the morale and motivation of student leaders. Students are selected based on their demonstrated leadership skills and/or outstanding programming ideas. Many thanks to the Student Nurses Association, who took a mission trip to Panama in December. The group visited 2 communities and provided 3 clinics serving 150 patients. Congratulations to the HFC Ice Carving Club, who competed in the Plymouth Ice Festival in the weekend of January 10th to 13th. The club received the second place team award, and the president, Charles Carter, won the individual Carter second place award. Thank you for the opportunity to be this month's speaker. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
Besides, what do you do in your free time?
Ms. Berry, I have a few questions, if that's okay.
Okay.
I can answer Trustee Petlicoff's question, what you do in your free time, and that is give presentations to the Dearborn School Board. You had your first trial and doing commendations about a week ago. Is that right?
That's true.
You did fantastic there.
Thank you.
And that's because you're a Henry Ford College student, right? Ms. Berry, I have a couple questions. You plan to leave us here at Henry Ford College, which will really be a sad day, I have to say, with all these wonderful things you're doing.
Thank you.
But a proud day. And I think you said that will be in the winter of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
You have 55 credits now. How many credits do you think you'll have when you leave us?
Probably 90 credits, I would say.
90 credits.
Mm-hmm.
And for the record, those are credits that you're getting, your family's not incurring any debt, or you
Nope.
are. How's the education here at Henry Ford College?
I mean, it's incredible, especially the honors program, because they promote discussion-based learning. So I feel like in those classes, I'm really able to speak to others and listen to their opinions, and it's really a respective environment there, which I appreciate.
Who is, you're in the honors program,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing the history of healthcare in Detroit as your project, right?
Yes.
Who's your faculty support there?
Dr. Peter Kim.
Okay.
He suggested or recommended that I apply to this, and I ended up winning. So I get to present on February 7th for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's not the presentation here at Henry Ford College you're talking about, right?
No.
When is that? The one you're going to do on your research project that all honors program students do? Have they signed?
Oh, you mean the directed study?
Yeah.
That's the symposium is towards the end of the semester. I mean, not everyone in the honors program is doing a directed study at this moment, but I mean, I happen to be doing one right now.
Yeah. When have you scheduled your present? I want to go. So when is your
Thank you.
presentation?
I think they're all on the same day. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
They haven't planned the exact day yet. Thank you.
And there was one other thing I wanted to ask. Nope, there wasn't. Maybe some of the other trustees have questions.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And also, we do have Liz Preston in the audience where she attends most meetings. So Liz, thank you for what you continue to do. We appreciate you. So. And is Rhonda still in the house? Need a little help here. Last couple meetings, myself and my other colleagues have thanked our outgoing Chair Mary Petrikoff, for doing an amazing job last year, which honestly saying she's done an amazing job last year is an understatement. We had a rough year last year, mostly on the other side of Michigan Avenue, so don't worry about it. But she led us as a professional. She led us with grace, so Mary, thank you for last year's, your service last year.
I
We
had
do
so
really
much fun.
appreciate you. What's that?
I had a lot of fun.
You did have a lot of fun, but at the same time, you did a wonderful job. So I'd like to, President Cavallino and I would like to present you with this plaque here. And, gavel.
Maybe we'll go up here for a picture.
Yeah.
That's a detachable gavel, though, I noticed.
I just noticed that. That's very dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. Because we know how she is. with
Aggressive.
She'll be using it at home.
And this is a tradition that President Cavallino started last year, and hopefully we can continue it. So, thank you for your service. Let's see. Next item.
President's items.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Chair, I would like to segue from your comments about the outgoing chair for my comments. I want to echo your support for the outgoing chair, and I want to make a few comments about some of the things that she did that I think are worthy of acknowledgement. And I think the most important one, at least to me personally, is a little bit of candor and humility for me, and that was the care and feeding of a new president. There were many times that I needed counsel, sometimes a pick-me-up, and if you know Chair Petlicoff, you know sometimes I may needed to have been scolded, and she was good for that also. But I will tell you, Chair Petlicoff, I appreciated the way you treated me. I appreciated the diligence you gave to every single person who works at this college or is educated at this college. Your devotion to this institution was unquestioned. Your memory of the history of this board's activity and the college was unrivaled, other than probably elephants. And there were many times when I really, really benefited from your counsel, your mentorship of me, and many of the times I can tell you the questions that I was bringing to you were from all corners of this institution, the cabinet, all the way down to student level. So you should know that your help to me and this college was monumental. But that was not the only thing that you had a big hand in that was important. You know, the board had a vacancy, and this board decides to fill vacancies through an election process by you all, and I know that you all know that, but you know, I can tell you when a time that you don't want to be chair, and that is when you have to go through that process. It's a difficult process, and I thought you handled that with dignity and grace, and you have served the institution well by helping the political pressures manage their way through a voting process. I appreciate the way you handled that. You also helped me in getting through an analysis of our HR department and the selection of a new executive director for the HR department and the promotion of two very highly skilled and very high-quality people onto the cabinet. Each of those you were able to give me advice on, and I know that each of them are grateful for the counsel you gave because it was in favor of them. So I will just say in closing that you have that plaque just as a memento of the thanks that our college has towards you. And we did not give you one of these things because that, as the new chair mentioned, you can take that gavel out, but we don't want you to hit anything with it.
You'd be surprised what I can do without that.
But I want you to know how grateful we are.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, and I just want to say that I didn't do it alone. We have a whole team. Not only do I have the board, because we are a board of 7, all decision-making is done through the entire board, not just the board chair. But it's important also to have the support and respect of everyone within our school community. And that is where the real challenge lies when you chair or preside over any voting board is in order to earn the respect and the trust of those you're serving, and that's all of you. So I didn't do it alone, but I will say, as the only dissenting vote, President Cavalluna was a little bit leery of how we were going to work together, and quite frankly, he's earned my trust and respect this year, having worked with him. And I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still here, and I'm still a full functioning member. So except for using the gavel, I'll be here to continue doing that job as long as I get supported from the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have just a few other things. One is I wanted to also reiterate some of the things you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, about Beth Preston. She obviously was part of our acknowledgements, but I also wanted to note that she's pursuing her doctorate degree at Ferris State University, and part of that is evaluating and watching presidents as they do their work. And she has asked for time on my schedule and then time on at least 3 other presidents of community colleges in our region of the state, and they have been willing to give her time. And so she's here tonight merely as a student. She's on commendations and acknowledgments, but she's here as a student because she's watching how we as a team of trustees and executives work together. And so watch what you say.
Well, I know very well.
Well, now they're really happy I'm not sitting in that seat.
The board will take up a couple actions that I think I will ask the chair if I can make a couple comments when they come up. One is the board report 4543 that deals with the bid for front-end loader that I'd like to make a couple comments on, about not on the substance of your vote, just on that report when the time comes. I also want to make a comment when you do get to the point in your analysis of the mid-year adjustment of our budget. So if, Mr. Chairman, if I could take some time when that comes up. And then I finally want to note publicly that if you all had insomnia and you decided to watch the State of the College speech on the internet, I hope it helped you fall asleep. But if it didn't, you heard me talk about the budget, enrollment, and I want to give you a little bit of an update on 2 of those things. I should say the budget, enrollment, and strategic planning. It's hard to gauge when we should compare enrollment to the previous term, because as you know, enrollment is a rolling process, but eventually you have to decide when you will take a snapshot and compare that with the previous term. And the previous term, I mean the previous winter. In the fall, of course, we compare to the previous fall. So we elected to compare the winter to last winter at a snapshot that was basically yesterday, and that was the last time to add and drop. And I'm proud to report that if you look at credit hours, we were up from last winter by 2.7%. You recall that I was a pretty conservative judge of what we were going to do in our budget, and I say that because we estimated we'd be down in enrollment by 2%. So to be up in the winter by 2.7% is a real testament, and frankly a victory to everyone on the campus. I say it often that enrollment is everyone's job. But certainly some of the heavy lifting was done, and a majority of the heavy lifting was done by the leadership of the SEM team. And I'm so proud of them. And they're starting to get some national recognition. In the next couple months, they're going to be at a national conference in Seattle giving a presentation on some of the lessons learned that they did in this SEM program. And so you're going to be hearing from me in the next couple weeks about how we will celebrate that victory in enrollment to try to keep the morale and momentum going on those points. But I'm very excited about that. The last thing I'll say is strategic planning is upon us. You all looked after a strategic plan that is now wrapping up. It started in 2015 and it will close in this year, 2020. And I have asked Michael Nealon and Lori Gonko, both on the cabinet, to start analyzing how we will proceed with strategic planning. I've talked with the chair at length about this process. I've talked with Michael Mead, who has distinct expertise on this topic, and I believe Chair Barry may make some comments about our conversations on that front. but I did want to make a public statement that we will be beginning that, and it's a really good time. We just finished the visit from Higher Learning Commission that noted we had a new strategic plan in the offing, so we can look at what the visiting team from Higher Learning Commission asked of us and wrap that into what we're going to be trying to accomplish as a strategic plan. And I invite and I'm encouraged by the idea of having the board help us do that process. So those are my comments, other than my request, Mr. Chairman, to make a few comments at the few items I mentioned during your agenda tonight.
Okay, great, thank you. What President Cavaluna was referring to under that strategic planning, we're also gonna commission maybe possibly a committee from the board, probably led by Dr. Mead, to look into the sustainability report of this college. What I'm referring to is the financial sustainability report. I think it will be in good hands with Dr. Mead, with the history that he has to the table, he brings to the table, and I will reach out to my colleagues and see who wants to serve on that committee. Are there any questions for me or President Cavaluna? Okay. Next item, please.
Special reports. Oh, okay. Discussion item, FY 2020 mid-year budget adjustment, Board Report 4541, Vice President Satkowski.
I'll just come up here real quickly. In your packet is the board report showing the mid-year adjustments, which we're bringing forth tonight and asking for approval on them at next month's meeting. There are two documents that are presented as well. One is the adjusted mid-year budget. The other is a listing of increases and decreases in the budget. The primary increase in the budget is, Dr. Cavaluna referred to earlier, the enrollment. We had budgeted a -3%. We're figuring right around, for the entire year, right around 1 to 1.5%, with the spring still being outstanding. So we're asking for an increase in revenue to the budget of $2.2 million. And the other item of major significance is investment earnings of an increase of $400 million. We were conservative in May.
400,000.
Or I did that. 400,000. I did that earlier today, didn't I?
Well, if you can do it again, we'll let you.
$400,000 in investment earnings, because back in May, when we developed the budget, we were very conservative on that. We had thought we'd been more along with the IEMP and the work with the design work on the tech building, but those have been delayed due to circumstances regarding the contract, as well as the selection of a design firm. So our recommendation is to bump that up, as well as it's closer to where we ended up June 30th with terms of interest earnings. It's always fun to increase that, because as you can recall, 6-7 years ago, it was a non-item is what it was. So the adjustments to revenue are $2,550,000 as an increase. On the expense side, there are a number of items that are increased as well as decreased. The big increases, we're taking $1.7 million of the revenue increase and moving that into the plant fund related to the IEMP and for the tech building, just for safekeeping at this point while we go through the bond process of selecting a bond. The other items are, you'll notice a decrease in the budget for retirement. We're a little aggressive in that, but that relates to also the $550,000 in reductions related to vacant positions and the delay in filling positions, such as our human resource director. That was vacant for 6 months. We hadn't filled that. With Sandro Silvestri leaving and then Ruben taking his position, we did have a vacancy over in HR. So a number of those dollars on a one-time basis come through to decrease expenses. A couple of things we did put back in were related to equipment and computers over in the student section, updating classroom operations, which we started 6 years ago, and continually annually, so we kicked that back into place with, even though Adam has, Coultier, who was here, who took care of that, Michael has picked up the pace on that, so we're back on track with those replacements. So those are probably the big items that there's a few small ones here and there that we're looking at, some projects in the capital side. We want to address the concrete and the railing of the liberal arts building, which is just, I can put it awful to look at, is what it is. So that's a spring, summer project to address a major significance. So with that, the adjustments will increase the bottom line from $83,000, which we had when we passed this budget, to $793,000 with these adjustments. Any questions? I or Brian? I have to point to Brian. Where's Brian hiding at?
Trustee
Brian
Lane.
being our budget coordinator. He's my right hand. He doesn't want to be my left hand. my right hand.
Trustee Lane, please.
So with the 2.5 million increase in tuition, how much is that offset by additional personnel? Or is that's already offset? I mean,
It's offset primarily by the $1.7 million transfer to the plant fund. That's what it is. Is that what you're referring? What you're asking?
no, I was wondering about personnel that had to be hired to cover those classes, or
Oh,
there
I
has-
heard what you're
yeah.
talking about. Believe it or not, what we ended up doing is we're at 178 full-time faculty members teaching with with EC as well for those faculty members. But we actually decreased the part-time budget because of, how could I say it?
Section
Increases of sections, students in sizes, and reducing small section sizes to the tune of about $400,000, I believe it was $400,000 or $500,000.
Well, that was the next thing I wanted to
So
ask.
even
is-
though enrollment was up,
So does
the
that
work
mean-
that was done over in academics consolidated a number of sections that you may have had a 10 and a 12, you end up having, a 22, or you may end up having an 18 or a 17, so a number of small sections were
So
combined.
does it mean that the increases of student numbers were scattered across classes? Or is it mostly English and you combined sections?
It was
or-
mostly scattered. Michael, from the standpoint, I think we had, I would say fuller, is that a word, more students per section, and then some of the smaller sections able to consolidate. And we did add sections in certain areas where there was the demand, and be able to identify faculty to fill those, to teach those positions. We ran into a very unique situation today, where we ran into a problem in one of the departments, so we had to make a decision to bring a temporary full-time faculty member on board, because the classes were there, and the person who was going to teach them had to take an emergency leave, so that we were able to address that and not, thank goodness, cancel any sections.
So I'm just really happy to see the increase. I mean, everybody is just, it's really nice to start 2020 on a good note. That's always good. And I'm just curious, with the increase in dual enrollment, where are those coming from? Does, maybe Dr. Gonko knows? Are they mostly Dearborn Public Schools? Again, are they scattered across the metro area? Do they all come in health services, or do you not know that yet, maybe?
I wouldn't know.
I know you wouldn't know
don't
that,
have an
but
answer
maybe,
to that, but
is
that'd
that
be something-
something that's being looked at?
Maybe we can give the board a report on that, a breakdown in the percentage increase.
I saw Dr. Herbst,
Well, I'm just saying that was it's really too early to tell right now,
Uh-huh,
but we did do a greater outreach for outside the district as well as inside the district for dual enrollment. It'll be interesting to see how the numbers do pan out when we get them finalized.
great, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, this is one of the reports I wanted to make a comment on, if I may.
Of course, please.
And most of it has actually been discussed by the colloquy between Secretary Lane and Vice President Sadkowski, but I did want to highlight maybe one more time that Dr. Nealon and his team of deans, and I see Janice Gilliland, I see Susan Schunkweiler, and I see Associate Dean Debbie Szymanski. The 8 of those, 9 of those folks, and others are really to credit here, because what they have done is they have allowed for an increased enrollment without an increase in expense to deliver that kind of education. And what Dr. Nealon has frankly educated me about is strategic section management, which is to say being pretty nimble in the enrollment process to fill classes to the place where they are frankly more profitable than less than profitable. And that is how your question is so pivotal, Trustee Lane, and that is that Michael Nealon and his team have made great strides in making this institution continue to give great educational product, but also do it in a much more effective way on the balance sheet. So I wanted to call out Dr. Nealon and his teammates who have really done a yeoman's work on that. And frankly, to use a metaphor, that the fruit that they're squeezing and the juice that's coming out, I think they can continue to squeeze it, and the juice will get, we still have some juice to squeeze. So he and his team are to be credited. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next item.
Action items, citizen participation. Citizens wishing to address the board on agenda and non-agenda items for action who have submitted a blue card to the secretary may speak at this time. The board may not be in a position to respond to non-agenda items, therefore speakers should limit or not anticipate an immediate response to their comments or questions. For the benefit of all concerned, please do not mention the names of students or college employees. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, no blue cards. So.
Next item.
Special consideration of an action item. Are there any action items on this agenda which board members of the president wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude these from the motion below.
We have to poll 6 for a roll call vote.
Yes.
Any others?
Mr. Chair, I would just ask to make a comment on number 2 and number 3.
Please.
At this time, sir?
Yes.
Number 2 is the board report 4543 that is related to the front-end tractor loader. And I just want to commend Fred Steiner, who you all have come to know and trust in the process of delivering you information about bidding. And I just want to commend his work on this report, because I asked him, I said, what I'd like to do is to have these board reports, particularly on bids, give a detailed analysis of the work you go through to make sure you're protecting the college's resources while also giving potential bidders the fair access to this public institution's resources. And I want to commend him for what he's done in threading the needle of giving enough specific information to answer your questions as our oversight board, while also not overdoing it. I think it's a really well done, and he's frankly a good writer also. So I have to call that out, and I'm glad he's on the team. That's all I have for that item, and I can move to the next.
Wait till number 3 to pass the motion.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and
Ready
read
for
that?
the
Please.
motion? Move to approve action items numbered 1 through 5 as recommended in this agenda, except for number 6.
So moved. Second.
Three-way.
We have
Aye.
support. Are there any questions? Anything under discussion? We have a motion support. Are there any objections to the motion? Hearing none, please attach a unanimous roll call vote. Mr. Cavaluna?
Yeah, number 3 is related to human resources, and I just wanted to take the privilege and opportunity to introduce you to, nothing to do with this agenda, but last month, you all, and I'm grateful for it, accepted our recommendation to hire an executive director by the name of Dr. Holly, and LaDonna Holly, Dr. Holly. And I spoke about her in the state of the college, but I did want to not take the opportunity for you all to put a name with a face. I believe she's here, and Dr. Holly, if you could stand, I want to introduce you. She's been on site now for two weeks, a little more than 2 weeks. She's been making the rounds, meeting with a lot of the leaders here, including me, and we're really excited to have her on the team. And I also want to congratulate her on a personal victory. You know, she wasn't here last month when you all voted to approve her hiring because she was having the joy of watching her son graduate from college in Florida. And somehow or another, she convinced that son to move back to Michigan. So you can see that smile, and you can see the persuasion and the smarts in that kind of decision. But please do take time when you have the time to say hello to her, welcome her to Henry Ford College. We're really proud of her, and please join me in welcoming her. Thank you.
Congratulations to your son and welcome aboard. Madam Secretary, going back to number 6, please.
Move to, this is for calling for a closed session. Move to approve the Board of Trustees enter into closed session under Section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to consult with its attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation matters. Badri v. Henry Ford College, and Jaber versus Henry Ford College et al. And under Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act for strategy sessions in connection with the negotiations of collective bargaining agreements.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. I will make a comment that we're gonna go ahead and finish out our business before we go into a closed. Are there any questions, discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Lane, yes. McDonald?
Yes.
Mead?
Yes.
Moseb?
Yes.
Petchlokoff?
Yes.
Thorpe?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes. Unanimous vote. Next item, please.
I think that's, okay, Board of Trustee business, acknowledgement of correspondence.
I received an email in the last day or two that I'm guessing everyone on the board did. I'd have to look back. It looked like a solicitation. I assume in those cases that we're all getting the same emails on things, but I will forward it over to the president, and if you want, I can also forward it to you, and you can
Please.
disseminate to everyone else.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Next item, please.
Board committee reports.
Don't believe we have any. Next item.
Requests for information and/or future agenda items.
Trustee McDonald?
No, Lane.
Oh, trustee, I thought you had your hand up. Trustee Lane?
I wanted to comment on the 7 steps to enrollment, the plan that I read, and I'm talking about number 2, underutilization of technology to assist with advising on page 6. And the recommendation is to use technology a little bit more so that counselors don't have to be loaded. I think the idea of paring down the 7 steps, paring it down, and also putting it to specific groups of students. An 18-year-old is not the same as a guest student, and we all know that. So the work is good. My comment is just that I agree that in the beginning, we all know when we get into something new, we're overloaded with information, and we're like trying to click it all in. And at a certain point, you just stop registering it. Even though everything coming behind is still important, you need to return to that. And I think that's what is being attempted here at having students meet with the counselor. I just want to say that I appreciate that technology can assist, but I think it's important that students see a face so that if they don't need the counselor, they still have some recollection of a human being so that they don't rely only on technology. I mean, institutions are about people. So while I appreciate that there should be this technology that's used, I still think that at some point in the orientation, at least someone should say, you don't have to meet right now with these counselors, but let's have the counselors stand up. Here they are. Remember, students, if you do get into a pinch, you can go to the counselors. So just so that they see a face, because that I think they'll remember more than a whole bunch of blah, blah, blah. And then I have a couple of other suggestions, and one maybe a question. We had from the district a link to the U of M alumni newsletter featuring our own principal, Hiyama Okadre, and it was really nice, a very nice article. It talked about the early college and the academies at Fordson, which this college shares. So I did ask her whether she happened to be an alumni also, or alumna also of Henry Ford College, which she is. That mentioned, of course, that was U of M's newsletter, and it mentioned only U of M, but it prodded me to think that I don't recall that I've ever seen an alumni newsletter from the college. And I don't think there's enough bragging. I mean, I love bragging about, particularly about other people, not so much about myself, but my kids or my friends and students. I mean, it's great to brag about our students. We don't brag enough about our students. I think the college should pick up something like that. And I just talked to somebody else who's an HFC grad who's doing something interesting. But I think those things, maybe a few of them, should be Meet the Alum on the website as well. So any opportunity to promote the college can be done in a human form by having an example of that. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Another suggestion that I heard from another college, I don't know, Dr. Herbst, whether you do anything for student stress during exams, but one of the most popular things that I came across at College for Creative Studies was a puppy room.
There's other colleges that
Yeah,
do
there are
dog.
quite a few that do puppy rooms, and in Dearborn, we have a really active shelter that has a lot of kittens and puppies, and there's nothing more lovable than kittens and puppies. And usually the puppy rooms are so popular that there's more students than puppies in the rooms. So I would suggest that maybe some stress reduction activities during exam. It doesn't have to be puppies necessarily, but it is a good one. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then in one of the other many links that we got from President Cavalluna, we had some other community college newsletters featuring wastewater technicians as a growing, one of the hottest areas for occupations, growth areas. And I I am thinking whether this will be included, for example, in the IEMP curriculum. So when you hear about things like that, I mean, this is just talking about solar jobs, which are now renewables are far, far surpassing the old dirty energy, and that pleases me no end. So I'd like to pass that along. Lastly, at some point, I don't know whether it would be here or maybe both, I'd like to have maybe some more discussion or a presentation on the Grand Rapids Promise. I raised this at the district meeting. We applied as the district, Dr. Chokel knows this undoubtedly. We applied as a district. Maybe if we got Dr. Maleko and Mr. Cavalluna, Esquire Cavalluna, together with the legislature or the governor, maybe we could make some headway, or maybe, if nothing else, just talking about it, because it's about time that we did that. We already have had people in the community. Our former trustee offered to serve on a committee if we had such a committee to fundraise. So I'd just like to keep it alive.
Yeah, we're on a waiting list.
I know we're
That's
on
the
a waiting
problem.
list, but the more we talk and the more we act as if we're going to be getting it, the more maybe we will get it. So we should try to push in that direction. That's just my suggestion.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to remind everybody, as we're going into March and we're looking at our potential candidates for presidents, I'm in reading a lot of their issues. There are some who are much more favorable when they're looking at two-year colleges and focusing on not a four-year academic program as much as certificate programs and all the things that we offer at a community college as a pathway for our student body and good jobs. So I just want to encourage everyone to continue to look at all of those opportunities and choices and look at those candidates who are more focused on the education issues that we face, and the ones who really have decided that they can't just continue to promote the four-year college path as the only choice, and that there are many other opportunities out there, which includes a community college and at either free, reduced cost, whatever, and are promoting much more of that in their issues. So it's just something that everybody's got to really get educated on before they go into marking a slot in the ballot box.
I didn't want to interrupt anybody, but we are still under a request for information. We're not under comments yet. So does anybody have any requests for information?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Could be a nice guy sometimes. Okay, next item. I'll get to you. Next item, please.
Board member commentary.
Trustee Moser.
Thank you, Chair Barry. I just wanted to commend President Cataluna on his financial literacy initiative with the Secretary of State. I think that's a great program that we definitely want to head on and making sure that our students are educated on financial literacy and how they deal with money and financials. Student debt is another major issue that is in the news and that candidates are talking about. And I wish that, that we would find a resolution on that, but we definitely want to make sure that all the students are very responsible when it comes to borrowing, especially borrowing exactly what you need, not excessively. The other item that I wanted to talk to you about as well is the, and I missed my train of thought here, but I may come back to it if you allow me. So.
Trustee McDonald?
I just wanted to add a couple of things. I wanted to really commend the work that had been done on updating the 7 steps to enrollment. I think that's marvelous. Because as Trustee Lane said, that one size doesn't fit all, and that always I had an issue with it, and I love the work that's been done. I think it was very thoughtful and comprehensive, and I know we're still in the process of that. I do agree that we have to have a face-to-face connection, but I just can't say enough about how much I appreciate that, and I think it's very valuable to our students. And I also wanted to just commend President Cataluna for being part of the Aspen Institute's new president's, and I can't recall the rest of it. It's forum, is it? It's not a forum, it's a.
I haven't told many folks about that.
I didn't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I told you, and
Yes.
everyone else on this board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It was in the now that you mentioned it, it was in the confidential
But
items, and
it's,
usually
I'm not hiding it
careful
from
about
anyone.
that.
I'm not hiding it from anyone, Trustee McDonald. It's, the Aspen Institute has a leadership program for presidents in their first 5 years.
Yes.
And that's what it is.
And I just think it's wonderful, and it's a terrific chance for our college to shine and for you to shine. And I have a tremendous faith in the fact that you will do well and represent us well. And again, I apologize for that. I'm usually very careful about.
Agreed. Trustee Moser, do you remember what you wanted to share?
Yep. So I listen to to music and other podcasts through SoundCloud, and this is not giving them a plug, but it's an app that lets you stream things, usually things that are original works. So it has ads on it. So Henry Ford came to be multiple times as the ad. And it was really cool because it was just talking about student success stories and how Henry Ford helped them as the institution, and that was great. So I was really pleased, although it came out multiple times that I was all like, I already heard the story. Next track.
Did you enroll?
I did click on the link just to make sure that it takes me to the Henry Ford website intake, and that was really well performed. So I hope that we can get some way of a report on the marketing initiatives. I know we discussed this
Yeah,
last
we
year.
did that.
So we want to see what's working and what's not. I've seen some billboards there with the website actually on the ad, so that was pretty cool as well. So we'd love to get a report sometimes
So
in
now
the
we're
next
back to
few months.
information and future agenda.
So yeah, that's a request for. I'm sorry.
Oh, the agenda, come on now.
Nobody requested information, so here, there you go. So
You know, Ms.
yeah, those
Preston's
are.
including that in her report.
I can't keep on topic.
So, yeah, and thanks so much for the invite for the Lady Tractors. I'll try to get my two boys, since they're really hardcore soccer fans, but I know they'll appreciate some basketball. So, we'd love to, if we can see, fit into their busy schedule as well. So, and I see an honorary coach here being Dr. Herbst and another coach being Mr. Cavalluna. So, good luck.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm not a board member, but
Go ahead.
I just want the record to reflect that it's your intention as chair that once we finish the agenda, then we will go into closed session, and then after the closed session, we'll come back here and adjourn
Just
this
adjourn,
meeting.
yes.
For any members of the public who are interested, that's the way we plan to handle the closed session.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment. I also will make the same comment next month at the P through 12 meeting. We are going into a big election year in November. Part of the election is gonna be, we're gonna be electing 3 board members for a full 6-year term and 1 board member to finish out a partial term. I know President Cavalluna, and no doubt that Superintendent Dr. Maleko know of this, but I just wanna make sure, because I know potential candidates will watch this tape. I know my colleagues that are probably running for re-election know this, but it is very inappropriate to reach out to the president or the superintendent and ask for an endorsement. I just want to make that very clear, so do not put our executive officers in that position.
Thank you for that comment.
Yeah, I've seen that happen when it gets ugly. Yeah, and like President Cavalluna said, we are gonna break from this, after we do future meeting dates, we are gonna break from this agenda, go into closed session, then come back here. You are more than welcome to stay if you'd like, but just letting you know how
Sit
we're
at
gonna,
a-
just
sit
letting
at
you
the
know.
white chair.
All right,
Quick one.
yes,
To follow up with what you just said about the upcoming election.
Yes, sir.
And asking candidates for this position not to approach the president and superintendent for endorsements. What about during public comment, people using that as a stage to promote their candidacy? I don't know that we can really say you can't,
yeah.
but that's not what public comment is meant for either.
Can't limit to what people say and don't say. Well, I've also seen it where potential candidates or actual candidates come to the podium and talk about something just to put their
And
name out
that's
there.
fine,
Yeah,
but if they're using it as a
Free advertisement.
yeah, just a chance to get a leg up. I personally don't wanna see a parade of people coming to the podium between our 2 different board meetings, to let us know that they're running. Their action can let us know what we can see in other forums.
sure. We can take a look at that and get some answers. Trustee Petrikov?
Well, quite frankly, we do have a policy that prohibits the use of school property for campaign purposes, so we might be able to take a look if that were to fall under that or not.
Yeah, we're getting, we'll check with our lawyers on something like that, because that will fall under freedom of speech, but, I'm not the expert there. We
No,
will
that's, but
ask
I'm saying we
information.
do have a policy about.
Trustee Lane?
that, so.
Please then do, if we do have people get up and campaign on camera, please do try to limit them to 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know Trustee Petrikov did a great job, and I will try to do the same. Anything else before we go on to the next item? Next item, please.
Future meeting dates, Saturday, January 25th, 2020, HFC Board of Trustees Retreat, 8:30 a.m. at the Administrative Service Center and Conference Center in the Rosenau Boardroom. Monday, February 10th, 2020, P12 Board of Education meeting, 7 PM at the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom. Monday, February 17th, 2020, HFC Board of Trustees Policy Committee, 6 PM at the Administrative Services and Conference Center Cabinet Room. Monday, February 17th, 2020, HFC Board of Trustees meeting, 7 PM at the Administrative Services and Conference Center in the Rosenau Boardroom.
Okay, again, so we're just gonna go ahead and break from this agenda to go into closed session, and we will be back to this room to adjourn this meeting.
Oh, okay. I will give it to him.
Yeah,
Thank you. How are you?
Investments are good.
Thank you. Oh, really? Neat.
No, we should go right down now.
Thank you.
How are you? Same to you.
Listen. I was excited for you. No. The only reason I actually yeah, no, that's I'm not upset. And it's something really sensitive. I let you guys.
Right, and usually it's very careful. So you don't have to have
It's really nice. Very nice. Thank you.
Action, we are adjourned.